Welcome to the Marvel Alliance podcast, where we cover anything and everything to do with the Marvel Universe. On the comics, TV, and movies, we will go from Earth 616 to Nueva, New York to the Spider Society headquarters in order to bring the Marvel Universe right to you. I'm the man without fear, Chris.
I'm your friendly neighborhood Brent.
Alliance Assemble,
Assemble.
Volume 167. And we are in the post Across the Spider-Verse era now. And how are you doing tonight, Brent?
I'm doing good. You know, I'm kind of in that spot where I'm like, Guardians is out. I'd like to see it one more time. Spider-Man's out. I'd like to see it one more time. I don't think I'm going to have time to see either of them again in theaters, but I want to. But no, it's all good. I can't complain.
Yeah, we just had school let out today. The kids are officially out for the summer. So it was a busy day. I've got graduation on Sunday afternoon, and next week is Heroes Con. So I've got 3 days of
already
doing.
Next week.
I know, yeah. I keep on trying to remember a week from today. The first day of Heroes Con will be in the books. So got my friend Brandon coming into town to spend 3 days to do that with me, and there's a little movie from the Distinguished Competition coming out as well.
Yeah, I figure I will go see that for the first time instead of one of the others for the third or fourth time.
All right. Well, let us get into all the news. But as always, first, we got to get through the network paperwork. We are part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network with 8 shows covering the wide range of geek and nerdom. To see the full schedule, check out the show notes below and subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUA Pod Network so you know when all the shows drop. We also have a Patreon, so if you want to throw a couple of shekels our way, we've got two tiers. We've got our dollar tiers, our tip jar to say, hey, you think we're doing a good job, and then our $5 tier with ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and Patreon-exclusive shows, including our show. We can watch this all day, the Marvel Alliance MCU Rewatch. We've got 17 episodes. I forgot to change the show notes over there. 17 episodes. Black Panther has already dropped, and I think in a couple of weeks we will be recording episode 18.
About a week and a half or so.
Week and a half, yep. It'd be
Spider-Man
Homecoming.
Yep, Spider-Man Homecoming, which just feels very timely right now with all the Spider-Man talk we've had.
Yes, exactly. So, but we also have the DC Alliance guys doing their DC Through the Years. We've got the Animated Nation and Walk Through the Multiverse doing their crossover, looking at all the lovely Beast Machines, Beast Wars cartoons. They just wrapped up looking at that. Joe's doing some more Multiverse Minutes, looking at some favorite summer movies. So we got a lot of content coming at you. I hope your patrons are enjoying this. We cannot do this without your support. And we have, I'm not going to say it yet because it's still a little ways away, but we have internally scheduled the next crossover for June. So I know we've missed a month at that point. We apologize for those kind of back and forth at that point. But yes, it is scheduled. Probably next week we'll let you know when that is, so y'all can plan accordingly. But it has been scheduled amongst the hosts, so that will be happening this month because there are a lot of movies we're going to be talking about. So be on the lookout for that. But if you can't join us on Patreon, we totally understand. If you want to take 30 to 90 seconds and rate and review the Marvel Alliance solo feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, wherever you can get your podcast, we greatly appreciate it. And last but certainly not least, we want to thank our official sponsor, OrganicPriceBooks.com, for your omnibus hardcover collected edition needs. JP and the crew at OPB have got it going on with immaculate packaging, excellent customer service, ships around the world. Got about 13 days to lock in some of these pre-orders on the Clone Saga, Devil's Reign, Judgment Day, Daredevil by Mark Waid, Volume 2, Ben Reilly Omnibus. A lot of great stuff this month, so use that code MARVELGUA at checkout to get $2 off every single order. Lets them know you're a listener, and we want to thank them again for being our official sponsor. All right, so speaking of network shifts and things like that, this show has been kind of shifting back and forth, and we apologize for all the shifts. Yeah, so we want to first apologize to that, you all listeners, but we're going to make one more shift next week because we will be recording next Wednesday evening. It will not be live. Star Wars Alliance is actually coming back after their month hiatus and so they'll be back to their normal scheduled time next week, but we will be going live on Wednesday, not live. Audio will still drop Friday morning. The reason for that is I've been invited to go to a private screening of The Flash that evening at the same time with my good friend. And it's kind of hard to turn that down at that point. So I'm going to
Sure.
take him up on that. And that also allows Brent to see it now Thursday night instead of this weekend.
Right. I've been
Or next
invited to a public screening where I can buy a ticket and I can go watch the movie. But it does really make the difference between me seeing it Thursday or maybe on Sunday. Like it's like next weekend. That's a very busy weekend for me, and so it actually worked out pretty well. I'm glad I won't have to dodge spoilers for too much longer. I know a lot of people are seeing it because they've done 17,000 fan screenings, just none that I could get into, unfortunately.
Same.
But regardless, I'll be happy not to have to dodge spoilers a couple fewer or less days, like a couple fewer days.
Yeah, exactly. So we apologize about that, but the audio, the only thing you miss out is seeing our lovely faces live at that point, but the audio will still drop Friday morning, so you won't miss that. S-Pubs is saying, I'm going to New York next week, and I've got tickets to see The Flash in the biggest IMAX screen. Wow, that's impressive. I want to see pictures of how big that screen is.
I don't know. Well, I guess he might be able to take some prior to the screen starting.
Yeah, true. Yeah, don't get in trouble. I don't want you
I'll
getting
take
kicked out
him during the
S-Pubs.
movie.
I mean, I know you're the man in the chair with all the rumors and everything like
Is it
that.
Is that an AMC? Is he going to have to see Nicole Kidman on the biggest screen in North America?
Movies. What do they make you feel, Brent?
The anger is what I'm feeling.
Brent loves it so much, so much. But all right, so again, we apologize about all the shifts, listeners, but we want to continue to bring you that weekly content. So thank you for being so understanding about these shifts. But all right, so let us get into we got some AMC Lincoln 13. So yes.
Good Lord,
seeing her. On
you know what?
On the
it's
IMAX
not even
screen.
worth it. Not even worth it. Go find some off the wall chain nobody's ever heard of. Maybe they don't advertise for the service that you're already using.
And you know what? I never have to take it. I go to a Regal Cinema, so I win.
You do win. Well, S-Pubs, I hope that is awesome for real.
Yeah. All right, so let's. A lot of Spider-Man rumors have dropped with with Across the Spider-Verse dropping. You get the red carpet, people talking about what's coming up next for that point. So our first story is coming from Variety. Spider-Man producer announces 2 more movies to release after No Way Home. So, the next movies we'll kind of see from this. So Sony Pictures producer Amy Pascal revealed to Variety during the red carpet premiere for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse that live-action movies are in the works for Miles Morales and Spider-Woman. While she gave no specific details on either movie, she made it clear that you'll see all of it, and these projects are all happening in the future. Producer Avi Arad also teased that fans will see a movie featuring Spider-Woman sooner than you expect. And while he couldn't go any further details, he ensured that it's on its way. He said, I cannot tell you yet, but it's coming. So rumors have been hinting at this for a while, Brent, that Sony does hold the rights to Miles Morales for a live-action movie. And the studio was
There's
looking,
no rumor there. They absolutely do.
And so the studio was looking for the idea of making a movie centered on Miles, which would be in a separate universe from the Venom movies. Pascal also has teased that Miles' live-action debut in March. Also, she explained that fans will likely have to wait a couple more years for that to come to fruition. And looking at her past quotes, she's been known to promise a lot in the terms of Spider-Man movies, only for those films to take a long time before officially being put into development.
Like the Venom, or the Venom is absolutely in the MCU comment. Remember that one?
I think I remember Kevin Feige's face more
The
than
look on Feige's face, yes.
that meme will never die at that point, and I'm here for it all. But so. I mean, I like hearing this news. I like hearing that, they're very specific that Miles and Spider-Woman will be in live action. We just have to wait.
Is Spider-Woman in live action? Because I don't think that's how this reads.
Live action movies are in the works for Miles Morales and Spider-Woman.
The quote, which isn't a quote from Pascal, it says producer Amy Pascal says a Spider-Woman and live-action Miles Morales movie are in the works. And so maybe I'm playing semantics, but I feel like the way they said that makes me think it makes me think the Spider-Woman movie is not necessarily live action. If it is, that's great. If it's Spider-Woman as in Spider-Gwen, then I hope it's Haley Steinfeld and I hope it's that Spider-Gwen. But I don't think it's clear cut, and I've seen this came out around the time of the movie release. Looks like May 31st is when this article released. I've seen since then a lot of back and forth on what she meant. And the problem
Fair.
is the article is not quoting her directly for that part. They're
Eh,
saying, we talked about Spider-Woman and live action Miles, and she said, it's all happening. Well, I wish they had a more of a direct quote. And then even Avi Arad says, we will see a Spider-Woman movie, but he doesn't specify live action or animated.
Very true, and we both know that details do matter. So,
Yes.
and how they choose their words could be intentional, or it could be, like you said, we're reading too much into this stuff because of our roles in this lovely industry of ours. But you're right. I mean, in any case, I think. But like you said, what Spider-Woman are we getting? Are we getting Jessica Drew? Are we getting Gwen Stacy? Are we getting another version of a Spider-Woman at that point? That there are lots of different things into it because they didn't go into specifics. But the one thing I think a lot of us are very excited about what Spider-Woman's going to be, but a lot of us are even more excited to have Miles Morales in live action. This has been something that for a generation different from ours, Miles is their Spider-Man. And so we've seen the success of what they can do with Miles in animation. It's a foregone conclusion. You are just leaving money on the table to not put Miles Morales Spider-Man in live action.
There's no doubt that they'll do it. It's only a question of, are they going to do it by themselves or in partnership with Marvel Studios?
Mm-hmm. I was talking to chatting on offline with our friend Philip Barker, and we were talking about how just Sony and live action. They know they can do a Spider-Man movie. They know they can do Spider-Man, Spider-Woman, anything live action with spiders. But they will choose Morbius. They will choose Madam Web. I think the most tangential one they could do is Venom, and they've done their own thing with Venom, but it's rather interesting to see. Yes, they're playing nice, and I like that they're playing nice with Marvel Studios and doing the mainline Peter Parker one. Is we say it all the time at that point. Madam Web is the blueprint. Could the Madam Web movie be this kind of gateway to opening up for them to do their own Spider-Man movie, Spider-Woman movie?
I think they're not doing a Spider-Man movie, or even is a live action one, I should say, or it's at least so far a live action Spider-Woman movie. I think it is from playing nice with Marvel Studios. I wonder if the current deals has clauses that basically says Sony agrees not to make any Spider-Man movies or movies with Spider-Man in the title that are live action until whatever they do with Marvel Studios until that partnership is over. Mm-hmm. But you also there were also stories and reports, unconfirmed, I didn't see anything official, that Sony worked with Marvel Studios on the multiverse and the way it worked in this movie and Across the Spider-Verse. So they're absolutely playing nice. And Madam Web, I tell you, if Madam Web's release date was after Beyond the Spider-Verse, I would think that Beyond the Spider-Verse would tease Madam Web. It's possible that Madam Web will tease that. I could definitely see a credit scene in Madam Web, which of course is the blueprint tying into Beyond the Spider-Verse. But again, Madam Web, like I was telling my wife, I was like, there's this project and this project and this project left this year. So we have a pretty full year. Mm-hmm. And there's Kraven, which nobody cares about realistically.
Well, some people are craving more Kraven.
Yeah. But I was like, several of us legitimately are interested in this Madam Web movie to see what they're going to do with it because it sounds different. It sounds cool. So
and the cast is outstanding.
Right. And so I don't know. Honestly, I don't want them to make a Spider-Man movie in live action unless it's in partnership with Marvel Studios. Mm-hmm. So when we get this live action Miles, I feel like the ideal scenario would almost be introduce him in a movie with Tom Holland and then give him his own project, his own live action project. That said, if it is truly the same Miles that we are getting now in these Spider-Verse movies, I don't even think he'd need to be introduced somewhere. You just need to establish it's the same version.
Yeah.
And maybe, and with that, go from there.
Yeah. And so, but we'll be there when they make that announcement and when they ever premiere it. But like you said, it's not a question of if, it's a question of now when that will finally happen. So, but all right, let's move on to our next Spider-Man news. Looking at the MCU's version of it, Mr. Tom Holland, Spider-Man 4 gets promising update amid writer's strike delays. So this is also coming from Variety. So during the premiere, also speaking on the red carpet, Amy Pascal got asked about Spider-Man 4 with Tom Holland, saying, "Are we going to make another movie? Of course we are. We're in the process, but with the writer's strike, nobody is working during the strike. We're all being supporters, and whenever they get themselves together, we'll get started." So when asked about the future of the web slingers, Sony's Pictures head Tom Rothman simply laughed and said, "If I told you, I'd have to kill you." The fact that the development of Spider-Man 4 is paused due to an ongoing writer's strike may indicate that the movie's release will be delayed. A past rumor has said Spider-Man 4 was eyeing a July 12th, 2024. That date is probably very unlikely.
I don't see how they could
point.
make that. They'd have to already have the script in hand, and there's no way they do right now.
And so at that point, I say we do get a Spider-Man 4 at that point, but it'll be before Secret Wars. It'll be in that slate as we march towards Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. That seems the most further out because all those films are eventually going to be pushed into a further time slot as the writer's strike goes on longer and a possible actor's strike looming.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that Tom Holland recently came out and said that he's taking a year away from acting.
Yes.
So depending on how long the strike lasts, that may not be too big a deal as far as pushing things back. Mm-hmm. But if he really does mean that, if he truly means like from this day forward, and we don't know when those interviews were given, we don't know when he said that, we don't know when he considers that time starting. But basically, it sounds like he had a rough time with an Apple TV show. And as I understood it, it's not that the production was bad, but like just emotionally, it was a very difficult shoot for him. So he wants to take a break. I mean, I don't see how they possibly make 2020, not the summer of 2024. Maybe they could do something for the tail end of it. But I'm looking at this point, 2025 for our next live action Tom Holland Spider-Man.
At the earliest.
Yeah, maybe he'll pop up somewhere else first, but even that, I doubt it.
Yeah, it's as we've said before, if this is going to be the first movie in what we assume is probably a new trilogy, and so we've reestablished where Peter is after No Way Home. He's basically on his own. He has no help. No one remembers him at that point. So this is a new territory for them to get into. And so, again, get the script, pay the writers, and make sure that we do this right and Tom's taking a break. Good for him. Mental health is important. He needs to take care of his own at that point. So I applaud him for saying, even if it's not a full year, just taking any sort of break from the job will be getting a better Tom Holland when he comes out of it.
Yeah, and I guess I lied because I actually do think we're going to see him one more time before the next Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. We'll talk about that in a little while, though.
Yes, we will. So, all right. Well, before we get into the next items, at that point, we're going to take our first ad break of the evening. As you know, listeners, these ads help keep the lights on at Geek Ultimate Alliance Network. We don't get to choose what ads come on, and they could be a bit loud. Give it a 3 count before they come on. 3, 2, 1. We'll be right back. And we are back. So, beginning of the week, got kind of a surprise and definitely called this official because of where it's coming from. So in an Instagram post from Anthony Mackie, where he's praising Harrison Ford and giving fans a closer look at the new Captain America costume, he revealed the new title of what was formerly Captain America New World Order. It said in the caption, "When Harrison Ford tells you how kicking ass should look, you listen. Thanks for the onset wisdom and last, my friend. Can't wait to do it again. Marvel Studios' Captain America Brave New World in theaters May 3rd, 2024. So the title is also being displayed on the cast and crew chairs within the post, which appear to reveal Captain America 4's new logo. It's impressive that Marvel Studios figured out a new title for Captain America by only needing to change one word in the general meaning of the original title and no longer shackled to the anti-Semitic baggage that it came with.
Right.
It also had a double meaning with this being a new era with Sam as Captain America. But does this new title have any other meanings? And what does it tell fans about the film? The phrase Brave New World originates from William Shakespeare's The Tempest, and some others have interpreted as an allegory for colonization. It's also been a part of the, what was it? I have it at the top of my head.
The comic event,
The comic event,
Secret Empire.
Secret Empire. There we go. Thank you. There's a book, a dystopian book about it. So people can dive into this. I like New World Order. I understand why they changed it. Brave New World. It's good. I'm good with it at that point, especially with every little thing we hear about coming out, how massive this movie seems in the sense of scale, even though they say they love using this word, Brent, it's gonna be a grounded movie. However, all the stuff we keep on hearing about it, it may be grounded, but it's big. It keeps on expanding on the involvement, who's in this, what the implications of this movie are. But yeah, I mean, besides that, I know some people have gotten some scuttlebutt as the changeover in Sam's uniform to be more towards, Cap's Steve Rogers Winter Soldier look. What do you feel about all this?
Title change wise, I'm fine with it. In fact, if you put both titles in front of me prior to any announcements at all, I probably would have picked Brave New World. I think it is a little bit better title. New World Order, just the word order sounds very, I don't know, cold. And brave is just, it's a more exciting word. And so I think that as titles go, I think it's a better title. I do like the connections with Secret Empire. And I know that wasn't the most popular story, but I thought it was fine. And costume wise, I know a lot of people are upset that we are going to seemingly get a new costume out of the gate or really close to it for Sam Wilson Captain America. And to those people, I say, are you surprised? Are you surprised? Has any character worn the same costume for 2 movies in a row or 2 appearances in a row for extended periods of time? I don't think they have. I can't think of anyone. Yes, Captain America, the first Avenger costume, has an appearance in the Winter Soldier, but not until the 3rd act, right? Like they don't do it. They even Spider-Man, like you see him, he changes costume more often than he changes underwear. It doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I'm not that surprised. That said, yes, I agree. The costume they used in Falcon and the Winter Soldier was fantastic. No notes. I loved it. I hope I feel the same way about this one. I'm not judging it off of this one shot on the side. S-Bub says maybe Thor. Maybe. I guess it depends on what you would consider his costume. But even that, I don't know. Like, he had some pretty significant differences. Shoot, his hair alone makes him look like a totally different person. but you know what? I'll give you Thor as the exception to prove the rule.
Yeah, it's just interesting just kind of seeing this. Like I said, I'm good with the title change. It feels good. It feels, especially, who he may be facing in this and the idea of the Serpent Society. You look at, kind of like also what you said, where we get a Brave New World with this new Captain America having to face these different types of people who he's going to be going against. He's got besides Serpent Society, you've got a president at that point. On which side is he going to be on with the president of the United States? I would love to see when we finally get the suit fully in action and see what it really looks like. Yeah, it's let's just say, bring up Spider-Man Homecoming. What about the suit? Is it got the suit that makes the man or the man that makes the suit? If all he needed was to depend on the suit, then he didn't deserve it all. We all know that Falcon is much more. Now, Captain America was always much more than the suit.
Always more than the suit. That's right. He's more than the suit. He's more than the shield, right? That's what Batroc told him or asked him about in the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're more than just the shield.
Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, our last story of the evening is possibly, depending on how you look at it, one could call it disappointing, but Disney Plus X-Men 97 reboot gets a release update. So, while Marvel Studios announced the fall 2023 slate with X-Men 97 at San Diego Comic-Con was going to come out this fall, new evidence no longer says that's the case. The pre-registration United States copyright for episode 1 of X-Men 97, as first reported via Scarlet Witch updates, includes a now projected publication date of January 3rd, 2024. Brent, can you see what day of the week that is?
Actually, pulling that up right now. January. It's a Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday. Okay, so that fits outside of a couple of changes this year, but that
Like
fits with
Echo. Yeah.
Yep. This new release date
No,
supports the
Echo is a
prior
Wednesday. Loki's Friday. Sorry, I
Loki.
got him
There we
flipped.
go. This new release window supports the prior rumors that claiming Disney Plus would be delaying the reboot until 2024, as well as X-Men 97 showrunner Bo DeMaio was telling fans online. He said, "Breathe. Understand I can neither confirm nor deny rumors. Just be patient soon." Smiley face. And again, we know it's not about like there's issues with the season. The series has been in the can. The season 1 has been in the can for a while. They're in the middle of doing the voice work for season 2. So it's not, I'm not concerned that this not releasing. It's just a matter of, okay, we already now have a release date for Loki. It's going to be in October at that point. We know when Echo is going to be coming out. So why not? What? Nothing says that we have to have X-Men 97 in November, December. In fact, why not start the year with X-Men 97 and start the year off? Because again, this year we're waiting until June at this point for the first Disney Plus series, The Secret Invasion. So I don't see a problem with moving it to January if that's true.
The headline on this article that you put in our show notes is Disney Plus's X-Men reboot gets disappointing release date. And I'm like, oh, what is it going to be? And I read it and I'm like, no, this is great. I don't want it this year. I don't want it this year. We have Secret Invasion, Loki, Echo, the Marvels. We have all of that left. And, yes, it's not technically Marvel, but the Venn diagram is borderline a circle. We have Ahsoka coming in August. Mm-hmm. And so with all of that, honestly, no, I don't want another show this year. I'd spread it out. I already think these shows are too packed together as it is. I'm very excited for all of them. I took the day off work to watch Echo, but I think it's all still too compact together. They should be spread out more. So yes, please. And I get it. This, it's animated X-Men follow-up from the 90s. So people are going to skip it when they realize this isn't tied to the main MCU timeline. Oh, I don't have to watch this one. No big deal. But I still think they should spread them out because, again, if nothing else, we don't know how damaging the writer's strike is going to be to everything. We don't know if the Screen Actors Guild is going to go on strike. We know that they authorized their negotiators to do so. But at this point, they need to be spreading content out anyway. So no, they should just wait. And that article does note that it's possible that date is just a placeholder for the new year. So who knows? Maybe it's January. Maybe it doesn't come out till next July. We don't know. And I, for one, am content to just wait and find out and focus on the shows we have this year.
Yeah, that's Bub's saying that we'll probably get the release dates for X-Men, Agatha, and Ironheart at Comic-Con. Yeah, all three of those shows in the can, ready to go. It's just a matter of what's the date they're going to do. And again,
and Christopher Evans mentions, of course, which because I've neglected to mention it, Kraven in October as well.
You're right. Never forget Kraven.
And maybe that isn't quite the circle of the Venn diagram that Ahsoka likely is with the MCU, but it's you're right. That is more Marvel content that we are getting.
That is so. All right, so it's a lighter news week at that point, but interesting stuff to kind of think about and see as we march towards. Again, we're about 3 weeks away from Secret Invasion.
We are. Do you want to touch on the box office from Beyond the or from
Yes. Sorry, I almost forgot about that. I put that in the notes and then just kind of breezed past it. So yes, Brett, thank you for doing that.
This won't take too long. It's making all the money. It's making the money. That's what matters right now. Domestically, it opened to $120 million, which is insane when you consider that Into the Spider-Verse opened at $35 million. Mm-hmm. Worldwide, as of what time is it? It's 6 hours ago or so when I looked up the numbers. Worldwide, Across the Spider-Verse had made $247 million. Worldwide for its entire run, Into the Spider-Verse was $375. So the entire run is going to pretty much get beat this weekend, and it's just going to keep going from there. Hopefully it's going to go. I've seen some people already calling $1 billion. I'm not willing to call that. There's just too many movies coming out right now. No, it's not. I don't think this is going to make $1 billion, but I do think it's going to be successful, and I think this just shows that the first movie, a lot of people slept on it in theaters because good or bad, as we've said before, they don't animation in general doesn't do as well as live action. Obviously, there are exceptions to these things, like the bigger Disney movies, things like Super Mario Brothers. But in general, especially if we're talking Marvel and DC stuff, the animation just isn't as it doesn't get people's attention the same way. But Spider-Verse, it's Oscar winner, had a great run on Netflix. Clearly people came out to see this one. S Bubs thinks you could see 500 to 600 million worldwide total. That would be, I don't know what the budget is, but that would be a hell of an increase over the first one.
Yeah, I mean, it was just an outstanding opening, especially like where we were hearing a little bit saying, "Oh, it may not do. It's going to do great. It's definitely going to double what the first weekend was, but it may not." But the fact that it hit not just over 100 million, but 120 million plus at that point, that's great. It's going to take probably a smaller dip, a dip this weekend with Transformers coming out, but I think again, the legs on this movie are going to be there for another weekend. It'll have a drop, but I still think it's going to have legs. I don't know if it's going to have the Guardians type of legs for a second weekend, but I think the cinema score was a solid A. The tracking on this is going to continue doing well. The buzz for this, like anyone who I've seen who's asked me before they go see, what do you have to say? And I said, you're not ready to see how good this movie is. And they've come back and said, you weren't kidding. Like anyone GA I've spoken to that has come and seen this movie loves this movie. And it's definitely their favorite. You've heard our reviews at that point. But this is going to be successful. It stinks that it's only going to have, this one weekend, maybe two to itself before it really takes a hard hit with The Flash coming out. But it's going to be fine. Sure. The movie. We're getting our conclusion to the trilogy. And then maybe in the future, as they see how release windows go, if they really want to focus on box office at that point, maybe kind of look at release dates and maybe make them shifts at that point, because I think the next one is currently slated for next March. Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think this is going to get $1 billion. It's definitely, Super Mario is still going to be the movie of the year in the sense of on the animation side with reaching that $1 billion.
Super Mario could be the highest grossing movie of the year, period.
It very much could be. And again, it's that moment in time. It was perfect time to release it. Great feelings at that point. This is just a different type of movie. But again, 500, 600 million from what it was before, it wins. It still wins. And
for the record, apparently the budget was around $100 million. So that's not even that much over the first one, which had a budget of 90 million. So if SBub's prediction of 500 to 600 million worldwide is accurate, that much money on $100 million movie, that is like an Avengers hitting $1 billion.
Yeah,
like an Avengers, but like proportionally, it's the same. So that would be a massive win for Sony in this case.
Mm-hmm. So, but all right, well, let us get into listener feedback for the week at that point. As always, Brent, you put out the Spidey signal, and we got a number of questions. They're all Spider-Verse, mostly either Spider-Verse or Spider-Verse tangential related. So if you have not seen Across the Spider-Verse, give it about maybe, what do you say, Brent, 10 minutes or so, maybe?
Yeah, we could probably do it in that time.
Yep. So skip ahead a little bit at that point and come back as we'll do Fact or Fictions and Comic Book Club. So, all right, spoiler warning is in effect. Hit us with the questions.
You know what? Give us a few extra minutes because something could come up during Fact or Fiction also.
Okay. True.
All right, first up from Rich. What are the odds that the MCU Miles Morales is actually the Miles from the Spider-Verse movies? At the end of the third film, we see him come to a live action and meet some of the MCU characters. The odds are certainly not zero. I think the only MCU characters we will see him meet, though, if any, would be Tom Holland and maybe supporting characters from the Spider-Man movies. Like Captain America is not showing up in this movie, for example.
Now, could I see some
That'd be amazing, though, if it did.
It would be at that point. Now, could we see some of the animated characters from Across the Spider-Verse, Beyond the Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse show up in Secret Wars? Yes, I could definitely see that. But I don't know if we're ready to make that leap from saying that the Miles in the MCU is the Miles from Across, Beyond, and Into the Spider-Verse at that point. I think... I'm not saying that the audience can't understand that. I think that's a leap too far. And with everything, as we've seen with Kevin Feige, he wants to put his stamp on these characters. Yes, they've had good dealings, but I think they want to put their own spin on Miles and the character of who Miles is.
I would like to touch on that during Factor Fiction.
Okay.
What you just said. Let's go ahead and go on. All in the game. He says, "Who do you got regarding the box office? The Flash or Across the Spider-Verse?"
Of like I need some.
I gotta assume who's gonna make the most money.
Who's gonna make the most money? I would say I'm gonna go with the Flash, just because, as we just said, animation's a different beast in this case. I'm gonna go with the Flash.
I'm gonna say for opening weekend, Spider-Verse. I think its opening weekend of 120 will be higher, but overall,
okay.
So no, he just said box office. He didn't break it down any more than that. So I'm choosing to break it down more than that.
All right.
Opening weekend, I'm calling my shot of Spider-Verse, but I think Flash will win overall. Overall, Flash is going to make more worldwide at this point, because by the time Flash comes out, yes, I know the Rotten Tomato scores aren't as good. I think it's going to hit with people. You have the Flash, you have multiple Batmans, you have Supergirl. I think it's going to hit with people. So we'll find out.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on the overall the Flash opening weekend. I mean, having 120 million for an animated movie is nothing to slouch at that point. And tracking's just all over the place right now. I don't know who to believe in the sense of where they're saying the Flash is going to end up.
I just don't think Flash beats Spider-Man. Is what it comes down to that quick. But over the life of it, when people are going to be like, oh, there's two Batmans and everything like that, but Batman's not in the name of this. Yes, he's all over the marketing because for obvious reasons they're barely touching Ezra Miller. But when it comes time to the actual show, when you look at the title, Spider-Man is going to trump Flash, and so I think it will be there until the word of mouth comes out, and then I think Flash is going to have I think it's going to have some good legs. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I could. That would be an interesting story. Across the Spider-Verse is able to have a better opening weekend box office than the Flash. That'll be an interesting story. So I could definitely see that happening.
All right, from Jim Scruggs, regarding the Best Picture at the Oscars, do you expect there to be 7 other mainstream movies better than Across the Spider-Verse? I say 7 because normally there are 3 additional movies that are indie or maybe from another country that could be nominated for Best Picture. Do you think Across the Spider-Verse has a chance of being nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars?
I think it does have a chance. I mean, despite like they established the Best Animated category to kind of stop animated movies from making it into Best Picture, but it does happen. It has happened. And to say that, is there any other movie that's going to be better than this movie, the other mainstream movies? It's hard for me to necessarily say that right now, not due to recency bias and everything like that. But there's always there could be that movie that's just going to come out of nowhere that people are saying, oh, it's going to be okay. And then it just becomes that hit. I do think, what I will say to this is that I think Across the Spider-Verse does have a shot at being Best Picture. I think it will win. It's going to be a tough battle between Across and Super Mario, but I think when you look at how Academy votes and things like that, the amount of like cultural zeitgeist that Across the Spider-Verse has really transpired across having so many different conversations I'm seeing beyond just Spider-Man, I think at the very least Across the Spider-Verse will win the animated category. If it's put in a head-to-head with Super Mario, Across wins.
So for what it's worth, I looked it up. There have been 3 other years where there were animated movies in the Best Picture category. Hasn't happened since 2010, though. 91, 2009, 2010.
Yeah, 91 started Beauty and the Beast, and that's when they established the animated category as a result of that.
Do I think that Across the Spider-Verse is going to be one of the best 10 movies of the year? Yes, absolutely. 100% I think that. Best 10 movies? Yes. I don't think you're going to come up with 10 movies legitimately better than this movie.
Without it included, you're right. It will be included in all top 10s.
But I don't think it'll be nominated for Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
I think honestly, I think Sony will just lobby for. My gut tells me they're more likely to just lobby for Best Animated, in which case they're probably going to win that category. Probably. Not for sure. You could make an argument that, hey, you already won Best Animated for Spider-Verse. Go bigger. Go bigger than that and go for Best Picture. Sure, it'd be really cool to see. Superhero movies don't win Best Picture. They barely get nominated for it. They barely get acknowledged at the Oscars to begin with, unless you're talking about the Joker. And so it'd be great, but I don't really think it's gonna be in Best Picture.
Yeah.
I'd like it, just don't.
Yeah.
Another one from Jim: is the Spider-Verse trilogy on par with the Dark Knight trilogy after 2 films? So basically, are these Spider-Verse movies so far on par with Batman Begins and the Dark Knight?
That's tough, just because I think it's apples to oranges in my mind. It's tough for me to agree on the idea of the question. I know what he's trying to get at, but it's hard for me to fairly accurately say one versus the other, because I think they're 2 entirely different films in a way. Fair. Not separating animation from live action. I'm just saying, like, they're 2 different kind of things they're trying to do in both movies.
I also think it's a little harder because we know how the Dark Knight trilogy ended, and we don't know yet. We don't have that third part of this to be able to compare. That said, I can't answer this, and I think Batman Begins is absolutely one of the best origin comic books movies there is. Absolutely, it's one of the best. I don't have a personal ranking of them, but that movie is absolutely towards the top. I think The Dark Knight is the best movie that the Batman appears in. And I don't even think that's close among anything. Like, it's my favorite of those 3 movies. It's my favorite of any Batman movie, of any movie Batman's been in. So yeah, those movies are fantastic. And yes, for the record, I do really enjoy Rises as well. I know people like to crap on that one. I'm sorry. I was
I enjoy it,
but I think it's a fantastic trilogy. What I said last week holds. I still believe. I believe Across the Spider-Verse is the best sequel, or the best part 2 in a trilogy of any comic book franchise. I believe if they can get even close to this quality with part 3, it'll be the best trilogy overall. So yes, my answer has to be, I think that it is at least on par with it, because I think it's better. Overall, I think it's better. Into the Spider-Verse is also an origin tell. It's Miles, but do I want to say it's a better movie than Batman Begins? Yeah, I probably would give it the nod over Batman Begins. But again, we're talking absolute top tier movies here, so we're probably splitting hairs regardless of where these are ranked. I mean, Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, like that whole trilogy, that's cream of the crop Batman storytelling. Like, it's up there. So I don't.
Why not like them both?
I mean, you know what? I guess we just need to watch them all in one day, all 6 movies when they're all out, and just have a great time with it, and then compare them.
There we go. Twist my arm, why don't you?
DC Outlaw, what are some Spider variants that you predict will be saved for Beyond the Spider-Verse that will have prominent roles, at least as big as Spider-Bite or Scarlet Spider, or even as large as Spider-Punk or 2099? I think Superior Spider-Man or Silk have potential. For the record, I do not think Spider-Bite or Scarlet Spider had prominent roles, but I will give you that for Spider-Punk.
Spider-Bite definitely did not have a prominent role.
Well, and I think Spider-Bite had more lines than Scarlet did, but regardless, they were there. They had a couple lines, and it's an honor just to be included. And so I will take that there for my boy Scarlet. But really, who are some other spiders you think might show up, or let's expand the question that you would like to see show up?
I've got a few on here. I've got 6 Armed Spider-Man
on my list. 6 Armed Spider-Man,
Cosmic Spider-Man,
that one.
Madam Web.
Okay.
Spider-Man UK, especially because of the multiversal stuff that when we recovered Spider-Verse at that point, that has implications. Silk. And my one, also referring back to a conversation Philip Barker and I were having earlier today. Here, if we're not going to have Madam Web, here's who we could have: the Great Weaver.
Interesting. So, the reason I don't think it'll be the Great Weaver, even though I'm all about that stuff, is Dan Slott recently said that he basically was told they're not going with the Inheritors. He was told they might, and then he said no, don't do it, and it sounds like they're not. I'm into that. If that's just nonsense online, fine. I'm into it. Give me all the Great Weaver stuff. That'd be great.
You can do the Great Weaver without the Inheritors. I know, like
You could,
but I was just saying
the concept would certainly work.
Yes, I'm more going for the concept of the Great Weaver versus the tie to the Inheritors.
You mentioned Silk. Silk was the first name I thought of because allegedly they're still working on a live action TV show, right?
Allegedly.
Why not get that character introduced and what's going to be a very large audience because people don't know her right now. They don't know that Silk was bitten by the same spider that bit Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Verse would be a great one. A couple others that I came up with. Superior, if they could tell us it was Dr. Octopus in there, yes. Kane, because I like clones, and Kane Parker, the second Scarlet Spider. While I would enjoy seeing his original like bluish costume, I would love to see his Scarlet Spider costume.
Yep, I would like that.
Mayday Parker. I know what you're thinking. We already had Mayday Parker. I'm thinking the adult Mayday Parker that we have in the comics, and I would love to see her interact with Peter B for him to have that go on. Speaking of the Spider Girls, Aranya would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be a good one. And then I have one last one just because I think visually it would be a lot of fun, even though if I'm honest, I don't really care about this version of the character in general. Just visually, this would be cool. Spiders Man, where it's like a billion spiders who think that they're a man. But they're actually, so I just visually, like look what they've done with the art. I think it'd make for a pretty cool scene. I don't need this character to be super prominent, but I would love to see what they would do with that.
The Spiders Man is in that Bagley run right now.
Yep, I mean that run. I'm just Marvel Unlimited current, but they are doing some Spider-Verse stuff, and
they are
like semi spoilers, but Peter Palmer. If you know about Peter Palmer, I thought that was hysterical.
That was good.
I'm definitely into that run. We got one more question. This time, not really Spider-Verse related at all. From Amari Daniels. If not Secret Wars, where do you think Namor could appear next? I wouldn't mind seeing him pop up in the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I'd say Fantastic Four is probably the low-hanging fruit of where he could pop up next, even just a reference point. I don't know where else outside of like a throwaway reference line, maybe in Brave New World. I could see a reference point or an image, but coming back in a prominent role in a movie. Yeah, I'd say Fantastic Four right now is the best bet, but I think a reference in referring back, I would say Brave New World.
My real answer is Fantastic Four. The ties that that Namor has to the FF, especially to Sue, that is the real and best answer. I was trying to come up with something other than that though, and the only other one I came up with for a project coming out prior to Secret Wars that we know as of the current release dates and schedules is the Thunderbolts. I do think it'd be kind of interesting to see him play off of the Thunderbolts, especially a character like Bucky. Maybe they've had a run-in the past. It'd be relatively easy if they wanted to do that, but Thunderbolts is my other option.
We need Human Torch there. We've got our invaders again.
I mean, yes, I'm here for that for sure.
So, all right, those great questions. Thank y'all for answering them out there. And fact or fiction. So, as I pull that up on our feed, I know, Brent, it's your turn this week. So, we've had these kind of hanging out there for about 2 weeks. So, I've got to dig back through all the lovely 2 weeks of stuff at that point. As I kill... There we go. Gotcha. All right. Number 1, Logan is the greatest Marvel film of all time. These were all Mr. Snell's at this point.
I'm rooting for him.
Okay. All right. Here we go. The votes are in, Mr. Snell, and I would love to hear your reaction to this because I know how you take news like this well. 67% said fiction, 33% said fact.
I actually voted fact on that.
Yeah, and your reasoning behind it was faulty at best. Yes. So yes, over 270 votes for this at this point. But yes, it was looking close at the beginning, and then fiction just ran away with it. Not even close.
Hey, I shared it and said, "Give him a win, vote for it." and people just didn't want to give Snell the win, and
I
that's a darn shame.
I mean, you gotta vote. You gotta be honest at that. But I even said like Logan's an excellent movie. The trailers were outstanding, including both song
It is
choices in it.
unquestionably a top 10 Fox X-Men movie,
Yes,
unquestionably.
but unfortunately, nope. The Twitterverse does not agree with you. Number 2, Peter Parker will die in Spider-Man 2 in the Spider-Man 2 video game. 23% said fact, 77% said fiction. Where do you say on that one, Brett?
Peter Parker will die in the video game.
Yep, video game, Spider-Man 2.
I'm trying to. I'm gonna say fiction. I'm trying to remember what I vote because I don't vote in them when I'm on the show, but when I'm not on the show, I'm like, no, fair game, I'm voting. So I'm pretty sure I said fiction, but no, I don't think Peter Parker is going to die.
Yep. And number 3, no Secret Wars director will be announced this year. 57% said fact, 43% said fiction. What about you?
I said fact on this one.
All right.
I would, if you had asked that, like, or if that had come up, if he had asked that like 6 months ago, I probably would have said for sure, like, absolutely. But I'm not as strong on this one, but
Okay.
that's where we are.
And the last one, we won't see Star-Lord in live action until at least 2026. 79% said fact, 21% said fiction.
I agree with that one. I think that's a fact.
Awesome. All right.
But another character that'd be fun to watch him pop up on the Thunderbolts, just to mix up the personalities. That'd be pretty cool.
Very, very true. All right, so it's your week. What do you got?
All right, we got a bit of a Spider-Verse theme going on here, which is why I said earlier, if you're completely worried about spoilers, if you somehow have made it to this point in the episode and haven't seen it, I guess I'm giving a spoiler warning for him.
All right.
Tom Holland's Spider-Man will be seen in Beyond the Spider-Verse in live action.
Heart wants it, head wants it. That's a fact for me.
I think it's also a fact, and I felt even more sure about it when we got the other two in Across. We got the other two in live. No, they didn't have new scenes, but I didn't say new scenes. I just said live action.
I mean, Peter 3 would love to be in animation. He wants to fight an alien too.
He does. I mean, his enemies are too boring. He wants something more exciting,
He's taking a few of them out, apparently, if we read between the lines on that one.
Yeah, because he doesn't pull his punches. All right, next up. Beyond the Spider-Verse will show a live-action Miles Morales.
One of the ones I was toying with in answering, like, what other variants I could see, the Insomniac Miles Morales being shown in the movie. We've already seen Insomniac Peter Parker.
I love that idea. That idea. They should totally do that.
So I could see that. Live action Miles, I will say no. I will say I think they're going to hold those cards for when they want to give their own introduction to live action Miles.
I am going to say fact. But I don't necessarily think it'll be like the live action Miles. It could just be something along the lines of what we got with the Prowler, something like that.
Yeah.
All right, my final one. The Spider-Verse version of Miles Morales will appear in Secret Wars, though it's possible it'll actually be a live action portrayal.
Yep, I'll go fact.
I think that one's a fact as well. You're looking at clearly the most popular version of the character so far, and it stems from a dimension hopping multiversal storyline. Yes, and not just that, but Secret Wars in the comics is the thing that brought Miles Morales from his universe to the main continuity. So I think it is going to happen, and I guess I could say, like, I think that is very possible as well. So that's where I'm at on these.
So, yep. All right. Well, I will post those Sunday afternoon. Let your voices be heard, and we will conclude the evening as we always do with Comic Book Club, and we are looking at as I look at Secret Invasion number 6 at that point. We're getting very close to the end of it. What do you think about this, Brent? We get a lot of, this is another kind of setup issue.
I love the opening with the Skrull version of Captain Marvel, full on, like, trying to get help, going to Marvel, like, trying to just, Yeah, like he's totally bought into it. Like he knows he's a scroll at this point, but in his head, like his heart, like that's not what he is. And I like that he's going with that.
Yeah, I do like that at that point, and especially, we get another one of these kind of, scroll takeover announcements across the world of what they've done, where they've been, who they're taking down, saying, "Oh, you don't need to fear us. You can still go on your daily life. We're going to make your life better." So, those who are resistant, just, we'll take care of them. But be with us, you'll get everything you've ever dreamed of.
Yeah, and that's really kind of jarring. And I actually went back and reread the page with the Marvel scroll dying, where he talks about they don't care, they're just going to kill everybody, And then immediately it's like, oh, we're here to save you. We're your saviors. Don't fight us. We don't want to fight you. We just want everybody to be happy and live. It's just really two extreme views, just back to back pages.
Yeah. What did you think about the return of Thor?
Yeah, so that was a cool moment, and it's one. It's like, did they do the little? Because I didn't see it. Did they do the little check? Make sure he is who he claims to be. Did Reed shoot his little scroll detector at him? But that sounded dirty. But regardless, it was great imagery, great artwork, really exciting moment coming into it. So yeah, in these big events, it seems like Thor often does sit out parts of them, but when he shows up, it's always a really cool time.
Yeah, especially Peter says, when someone asks, "What are you doing, Thor?" and Peter says, "Are you assuming you are Thor?" and Reed just simply says, "It's him."
It's him. Well, that's true. Reed did say it's him, so I
Yeah.
guess that's where it said it. I like the little Thor showdown with Bucky,
Yeah.
Bucky Cap. Like that was a kind of fun one, and just the way this art was depicted, Bucky he looks so tiny, just so small compared to Thor.
Very much. So we get the kind of leading up to a big battle with the heroes on one side versus the Skrulls on the other. We get these lovely splash pages, heroes and villains alike uniting against the Skrulls, and a huge battle is ensuing.
Did it feel a little like Portals to you?
A little. Portals was better, but yeah, it does have Portals-esque feelings to it.
Yeah, even with Iron Man yelling Avengers Assemble and stuff, it definitely invoked that for me.
And let's just be honest, Nick Fury's got a big gun.
Nick Fury has a 90s cable style gun. That's every time I see it, all I can think of is 90s and cable.
You know what? He's missing a leg belt.
I mean, nobody's perfect.
Nobody's perfect. So, all right. So 167 in the books at that point. We had some fun talking about all this lovely Spider-Man rumors and some changes in news. But yeah, busy week at that point. So again, listeners, we want to remind you that we will not be going live next week. We'll be recording Wednesday night, and audio will drop on Friday as usual. So be just a reminder about that. Brent will still send out the call for questions, so just be aware of that. He'll put you all that reminder that we need those questions a little bit earlier this week, or excuse me, next week at that point. But yeah, thank you for bearing with us during that. And Brent, tell people how they can follow you.
Yeah, Brintac Prime on Twitter. Go to brintac.social for for links to the other places I'm at on the other social medias.
Yep. You can follow me on Twitter at Chris Balgi. You can follow my other show, World's Finest True Believers, at Finest Believers. You can follow this show on Twitter at Marvel A Podcast. You can email the show at marvelalliancepodcast@gmail.com. You can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Network on Twitter at GUAPod Network. Feel free to tweet, email if you want to provide feedback, ask questions to answer on the show. Continue to rate and review our solo feed, Marvel Alliance solo feed, the GUA Network feed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for joining us in chat. Stay safe out there, everyone. And as Stan the Man would say, Excelsior, true believers. All right, Brent. Post-credits tonight is a bittersweet one. We are going to conclude, at least right now, our discussion of Ted Lasso Season 3.
And how are we going to connect it to Marvel besides Brett Goldstein? Well, Apple had an event the other day. They announced their Vision Pro, their new headset, and Bob Iger was on there for some Disney Plus stuff. And they referenced What If for some sort of what if reality thing. No, I'm not planning on spending $3,500 on a headset, but that's our end. Gets us to Apple TV Plus, which gets us to Ted Lasso. I'm sticking by that story. What did you think of the finale?
I had some theories going into it. A number of them were confirmed. It ended as it should have. Ted's done his journey. I really enjoyed. My biggest prediction was how they were kind of setting this up. Aaron had asked me at the beginning of the season, like, if Ted's leaving, who's going to take over? I said, it's going to be Roy. They're building Roy up, and I think the big moment for him this season to show that he is the right person to take over Richmond was when they had with the episode of when revelation of one of the team members that he was gay, and the reaction
Holland.
and the reaction of the captain going into the stand saying
Isaac.
like that. Isaac. And I think him doing that press conference showed that he's ready for that next level.
Did we give a spoiler warning? Did I just blank on that?
We did not.
All right, well, we're giving one.
Well, I think wrapping up our thoughts, I didn't say it, but yes,
it's implied. But I want to put it out there for people. The press conference that you mentioned when he says, "So what are my overall thoughts on what Isaac did?" I give him love. That's his overall response. I absolutely one of my favorite Roy Kent moments, and he is my favorite character on the show. Seconded at this point by one Jamie Tart. And yes, like Roy's niece said, they are indeed best friends, even if they do sometimes fight over a girl. I love the journey that those two characters took throughout this season, throughout season 2, all the way back to season 1, when they were definitely rivals, even though they were on the same team. So much about that, like just the way that they opened up themselves to each other. Honestly, it's one of my favorite like relationships in all of fiction. I love the two of them. If we see more of those, I'd be really, really thrilled. Overall, like there's been a few people who were upset that like Roy and Keeley didn't end up together, or Keeley and Jamie, or Rebecca and Ted, all these different relationships, romantic relationships.
That opening of the episode made you think, oh God, what happened?
It did, and even that I didn't really buy. And then right after that, we got an amazing joke with Coach Beard.
Yes,
but I'm okay with it, especially the Roy, Jamie, Keeley stuff, because Keeley had been attached to somebody the entire show. She was with Jamie. She was with Roy. She was with Jack. Is she going to go back to Roy? Like, she needs to be her own person. And Roy, he grew a lot as somebody with Keeley. He grew even more without her, with having gone through that relationship. Jamie, the same thing. He was with her. He grew more without her also. I'm not saying she was holding him back. She was just helping them both better in a platonic way than I think ever did romantically. All three characters, I feel, they're better as friends. And that episode where they all go to Jamie's parents' house, or Jamie's mom's house, I guess I should specify, it was an awesome moment of support that they did for their friend, that they were trying to get him back on his A game. They were trying to figure out what was wrong with him. And it was just great support. I loved it.
And we bringing Nate into the show and the growth that he had of being like on the opposite side, to where leaving the team that he was the coach of, to having that moment of reconciliation with Ted, and the team welcoming and forgiving him for what he did at that point, and how much happier he is. That was the journey I was hoping we were going to see with him. And I'm glad that was paid off. I've seen a lot more complaints than usual in the sense of how season 3 was. Like, people say, oh my God, it was so disappointing. It's focusing so much on the side characters and not Ted at that point. It's like, not saying people aren't entitled to their opinion. You're always entitled to your opinion. You're always entitled to your feelings. If you weren't a fan of this season, fine. That's okay. One of the things that I would challenge people to do if this season wasn't your thing, keep in mind what Ted said in the first season. Be curious. Don't be judgmental.
Be curious,
not
judgmental.
But what I mean by that is not saying you're not valid to your opinion. What I am saying is that take a look at the season from this perspective, looking at, if you know Ted's leaving the team, understand where are these players going to be and how are they going to be setting themselves up for what the future is without Ted. Look back at the season like that and where we're going to see these characters, because if you look at the journey these characters go on, you feel a lot better of where these characters are going to be at the end, knowing where they have gone through. And every one of these characters, I loved the journey that we got to see, and we got to spend a little bit, everyone got to have a little moment in almost every single episode that way you say, hey, you're going to be okay. In the ending of where Ted leaves his notes to Trent, it's saying that one suggestion, change the title, It Was Never About Me.
It was never about me. That's right. The AFC Richmond way. I do want to acknowledge this one criticism that I often see, and I kind of agree with. I love Nate's arc they did take a lot of shortcuts with it. I
Yeah.
have been saying since last season, he's going through some stuff. He's in a bad place mentally. He's gonna come back, and he did.
Yep.
I wish we had seen a little bit more of that. When he tells Rupert, no, he's not going to go hang out with these two other girls, effectively escorts, right? Like he's not
Yeah.
going to go do that. I That was such a great moment. But the next time we see Nate, he's full on like quit. He's quit
Yeah.
at West Ham. I wish we had seen that moment. I don't need to have seen that moment. Like the important thing was he did it, and they told us he did it, which is so much more powerful than him being fired, and which is what I thought was going to happen. So I was very thankful, and I was glad that they did not bring Nate back to just you're one of the coaches again. No,
Sure.
he's back assistant to the kit man. No, that guy got demoted.
Yes, he did. But you know what? Whether they're going to be spinoff, whether there's not going to be spinoffs, these 3 seasons were delightful. Highly recommended. If this is the time that you're saying, okay, we know that right now, as far as Jason Sudeikis is concerned at that point, this is the end of Ted's journey. He concluded what he wants. Spinoffs not. Watch Ted Lasso if you've never done it. It's an amazing show. It's delightful. You won't regret it. And but yeah, we will see you all. Well, you'll be hearing us next Friday, and we'll look forward to it. So talk to y'all later. Bye bye.